I was watching a podcast of something that is more common today than in the past. It's called minimalism, as people are trying to become minimalists. And that is a reaction, of course, to the materialism that people are engaged in today in such a um, wide extent, so far and deep entrenched in materialism that so many people are lost in a materialistic world and forgetting their spirit, their soul. And it's very easy today to be lost in it. So many are responding, or at least some are responding. I don't know if it's many, with minimalism, that you can live life with just a backpack, you know, with a minimal amount of things. And while there is some virtue to that, because it is a recognition that there's something more than the material world, there's something deeper and more profound than having things. Yet, the fact that we live in a time where we're in an unprecedented manner, more things are available than ever before, that itself must tell us something, must be an indication for something. It can't just be that it is merely the challenge of the day, but it must also be telling us about the uniqueness of the times that we live in. That, I probably own well, in my office, I probably have for myself 50 pens and pencils. At home, I probably have this, maybe the same amount. Whereas 200 years ago, you only had one probably. Now, of course, they were more cherished then than what we cherish now. Things are more throwaway today than ever before. That's all the negative side. It has to be something positive. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you. Tanya, we continue in the 37th chapter discussing the purpose of creation, and that is that God should be revealed in this low world. The spiritual worlds are a higher world, and why they're higher, not because they're higher in God's estimation, they're higher that in it the light of God is more revealed than in this lower world. So the souls that pass on and go into the Garden of Eden, Gan Eden, they have a greater revelation of the light of God in those worlds. But yet, that's not what the world was created for. Not this world is not a means to that world, even though chronologically that's where we go afterwards. But no, from there you come back. Mashiach, the Messianic era. That's the ultimate purpose, because then God will be revealed in this low world in a much more palpable, real way. And that is the ultimate purpose. This world, physical world, and the materialism of this world. And as we've been explaining, because through it, we engaged in God's commands, his mitzvahs that are of a physical nature. Tefillin, mezuzah, charity, eating kosher, celebrating Shabbos with making Kiddush and having challah and the like is taking a material world and taking it that is the material world that is being animated and energized only from God, but through klipa, a concealment of the presence of God. And through that concealment, you reveal the divine nature of the material. Not only the divine nature of the material, but we physical beings have to do the mitzvah by virtue of the vital animal soul that is giving us vitality to be able to do the mitzvah. So not only is the object of mitzvah elevated, but the vital soul of the person doing the mitzvah is also elevated together with their body and together with everything else that's engaged with that. So what does that mean? So on a collective level, the community of Israel is comprised of 600,000 general souls that are the quintessential point of creation. Now, each one of those 600,000 are general souls. They're further divided into 600,000 those 600,000 branches, if you will, metaphorically, each one have a bud and a leaf that grows from it, meaning a soul. So that soul, me and you, have now a portion of the entire world, because that's what the world was created for this soul to come into the world and to engage in the material world here. Not disengage, but to engage. And that part of the world depends on the vital soul of that individual who will elevate what they have in their world. That means that this portion that you're partaking, right, which requires a body and a vital soul, because for me to be able to write words of Torah, say words of Torah, to take a coin and extend, I need my body and vital soul that gives vitality to the body to engage. So, and not only in the mitzvah, but everything that leads to the mitzvah. So the eating and drinking that I do that gives me vitality physically and, and in spirit too, maybe, that allows me to do the mitzvah is also now upgraded, right? And everything that's engaged. Going to the gas station the other day and filling up with gas because I need my mitzvah mobile, my car mobile that is for mitzvahs. And that's why I'm doing it, for that end result. So all of that is engaged in elevating the material world that I engage in. So the more I engage in the material world, right? So the more things that I have that I use towards the divine and elevating it, the more of this world gets elevated. So perhaps that is the deeper, well, it is, I suggest, the deeper reason of why we have so much more things today than ever before. Not because we should be consumed with things, but we should consume it into the divine, to use it for the sake of the divine. Today more than ever. And perhaps that is also the inner reason of why and perhaps that is also the yeah, I have it here. Perhaps that is the reason why there's so many more inventions today. In the last 50 years, more things discovered than ever before. You know why? As we get closer to Mashiach, to the ultimate revelation of God, more things need to be revealed in the material world that can be used for the divine mission, for everybody's unique and particular divine mission. So look at this. thanks to a good friend. We're streaming now on 4 different channels, 5 different channels, 6 different channels. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. On Facebook, 2 different Facebooks. We're on Instagram, we're on X, we're on Clubhouse, right? So, yes, all those things could be used in a negative way, but that's not what it was created for. The smartphone was to be smart with and use it in a divine way. So here, there's so much more materialism available today than ever before, which just means more of an opportunity that we can connect everything to the divine more than ever before, because that is its ultimate purpose, which is amazing. Which is amazing. That's why we came down here, to have more engagement through the material world, to upgrade it, uplift it, exalt it into its divine purpose. So that's why I got more pens than ever before. And so on and so forth, which is amazing. How empowering that is. How is that to see the physical world, that many people, their response to being over induced, overstimulated by physical material things that seem to be hijacking people. And it's true. Many people are being hijacked by their phone, right? We're losing a generation of children to their phones. That's true. That's because we don't recognize the divine nature of that phone, and that it needs to be elevated, and that it can be used as a means to reveal divinity, as we're doing right now on all of these platforms. Which means we have greater reach today to humanity than ever before. And that's the purpose of having so much more materialism, not to escape it and to become a minimalist, but to engage in it in a divine manner, each and every one of us. Powerful. So, David has a question. Can someone who is not religious elevate things? Of course. Now, you might not, now we understand that we need to be mindful of this. And that's the virtue that we have, that we're mindful of this, right? Someone who hasn't studied here and is so-called not religious and does a mitzvah, and they're not mindful of the fact that they're refining themselves, the world, through this act and elevating it to divinity, doesn't make it less a truth. It just makes them less aware of it, and therefore not, not having that intent. So yeah, even if they don't have that intent, they're still elevating it if they're doing it for a mitzvah. So if they're giving charity, that coin is elevated. It won't be as elevated as the awareness, because it's not going to take in their mind and heart, but their action is involved, right? Someone who's religious and puts on tefillin, of course they're connected. Another question from Davida. When Mashiach comes, will we need to keep elevating the material into the spiritual, or everything will be elevated? Excellent question. 2 excellent questions. So, no, then that's what we're trying to accomplish right now, right? Through all these platforms and reaching out to get to more people to learn Tanya, to be connected, to Hashem. So the ultimate coming of Mashiach means that the world is elevated. So then, and once the world is elevated, all evil has been um, banished because it has no longer nurture. Because evil, true evil, gets its nurture from klipas noiga, from the admixture of good and evil, right? Where they can choose one or the other from that form of vitality. But once everything is, we've elevated that which needs to be elevated, that which is a mixture of good and bad, right? The klipa, the shell that covers over on the divine, and we've cracked the shell and elevated it. Then the complete evil things of the world have no nurturing ground. They have no ground to stand on, and they will be just automatically just removed. The spirit of impurity will be removed from the earth. Yes, and then, so we don't need to do that in the times of Mashiach, but what we do need to do is in light, there's always greater light. There's always greater um, uh, growth and achievement. John, when Mashiach comes, well, how high will the world of Asiya, the lowest world that we're in, be elevated? All the way to Atzilus? Beyond Atzilus. Because Atzilus is an emanation of God, right? We will have the essence of God in this world revealed. We have the essence of God right now in the mitzvah that we're doing, studying Torah right now, right? Beforehand, praying to Hashem. Before that, giving charity, right? We have the essence of God, but he's not truly revealed in that connection through the mitzvah that we do. Mashiach means that it'll be truly revealed. And the physical eye will appreciate it. Not just now we learn about it in the mind's eye. The physical eye will truly be aware. So that's greater than Atzilus. Because Atzilus is an emanation of godliness, but doesn't have a connection to the essence and the core essence of God. That's why this world is greater. And what we achieve here is more phenomenal than even the world of emanation, where the emanator emanates, which is lofty, but doesn't compare to what we will be. And even what we have right now, we're just not experiencing it. It's not truly revealed to us. We will see beyond the veil, exactly. Exactly. We'll see beyond the veil, as Vicky says. Yep. Because even at Silus, there's a veil, because it's godliness. It's the divinity in a that comes in expression of limitation and boundaries, definition. We will experience here the infinite. Excellent questions, everybody. Thank you. Amazing. All right. I don't see any more questions. Yeah, it's wonderful news, as Vicky says. Yeah, indeed it is. Just to, again, bear in mind, what's the wonderful news? It's right here, right now, the opportunity that we have to connect to the core essence of God. The drawback is that the soul that leaves this world and is in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden, it's getting much more of a tantalizing experience. However, the experience is of the light of God, not of God himself. It's a ray of light. Here we have the core essence of God that we attach ourselves to through our Torah study and mitzvahs that we do. But the challenge is we don't experience it. Times of Mashiach, we will. Alice, couldn't the same thing be said about cars and phones? They all have their bad and good. Yeah, everything. Yeah, absolutely. Everything. Vicky, because we can't handle more. Right now, we can't handle more. Right. We need to be refined. Just like today, the truly righteous people, a Rebbe, can handle a lot more than us because they're refined. And refined means here that the material is merely a tool in their hands. They're not um, limited by it at all. But we are, because the material on some level controls us. Susanna has a question. Let me find it. What would the nations see? Nations of the world? Also, as we've said, that the nations of the world will also be part of the times of Mashiach and also perceive godliness. It will be, though, the teachers, the inspiration will come from the Jewish people, as they are supposed to be a light unto the nations. Excellent.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So when it says, does the divine soul enter into exile within the body? Why do we use the word exile? Because since we're able to perform mitzvot in this body, why exile? Why not a phase?
Excellent question, because exile or imprisoned means when the prince is in prison, he's still the prince, the king. The difference is he can't act like a prince, right? He's in prison. He is, doing harsh labor, contrary to his, princely being. And so he can't be himself in its full. Is he not himself? He is himself, but he can't function that way. So the godly soul, being in exile, means that we're dominated by our animal soul. And we do what our animal soul's nature and instincts are. So hence the divine soul is in prison because it's not in control. And even if you do a mitzvah, doesn't mean that it is totally your godly soul that is dominating you at that moment. It could still be your animal soul that, some animal souls, are murderers. That's what they do. Other animal souls, they're good businessmen and know how to make money. That's all animal soul, all self-directed, right? Another animal soul could be doing acts of loving kindness. It makes me feel good. So it's not coming from the godly soul. So the godly soul, even in doing an act of kindness, could be still imprisoned, because you're not doing it for a godly purpose. You're not doing it for the godly connection. You're not doing it because that's what God needs from me. I like to do, I like this, so I do it. You like it, so fine, but your godly soul is still in prison, even though you did a mitzvah, right? At least, and then it may not be, the one who's a thief, his godly soul is a much deeper form of imprisonment than someone who is doing acts of loving kindness, but that because it just makes them feel good, right? That feel good is the animal soul's need for preservation. Some people steal for preservation, right? Other people need praise for a preservation, right? For self-preservation. Others need um, to feel good about themselves. That's their self-preservation. Therefore, they do good so they can feel good about themselves. That's all animal soul. That's all self-preservation. More refined form of self-preservation as opposed to the thief, right? But it's still self-preservation. So the godly soul is not dominating the individual at that moment, not in control.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Sure. Okay. Amazing. I think we got it all. Thank you for your wonderful questions. And great. Yeah, that's why we have to have a constant inventory of self, as Vicky says, right? There's constantly something more. All right. Rambam coming up. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Such and Kadesh, Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. An
Thank you, Rabbi.
amazing, great, and wonderful day.